Alright, Ants, Adam, King of Ants here, back with another Football Manager experiment where we see if the Manchester United class of 92 can take a non-league football team all the way to the Premier League and dominate English football just like they did back in the 1990s and early 2000s. So using the editor, I've recreated the 6 players from that team, that being Paul Scholes, David Beckham, Nicky Butt, Ryan Giggs and Gary and Phil Neville. I've put them in Altrincham, and we can obviously see them progress and see if they can take Altrincham all the way to the top. I chose Altrincham because I don't know if you saw my channel previously, but I have my own Altrincham save. I'll obviously leave a link for you to go and check that out. I would much appreciate that. But I thought it would be nice to see if these local lads can obviously take Altrincham to the top and see if they can dominate that English football. Along with the 6 players from the class of 92, I've also put Sir Alex Ferguson in charge of Altrincham. Obviously, I've gave him the best attributes going, as in my opinion, he's probably the finest manager that's ever worked in football, especially the English Premier League at least. But this is an alternate reality, so Sir Alex Ferguson's not managed anyone previously. He's not managed Aberdeen, not managed Manchester United. This is his first management role, so we can see how well he does, and obviously if he can take this team full of those 6 great players all the way to the top. Altrincham is his favourite club, so hopefully he'll stay here as long as possible. But obviously, when you've got those attributes, the big team's going to come calling. But yeah, I've tried to make it as how I would see Sir Alex. So he's a great manager. He had great motivation. He could motivate anyone. He had good ability at judging players, the potential and their ability. So obviously that's a big benefit to Altrincham and to obviously the 6 lads who hopefully will be able to progress with him as manager. Let me show you the 6 players that I've obviously brought in. So obviously this is my opinion on their attributes based on how I perceived them when I watched them. All the players are 14 to 15. The very young players are on youth contracts, but I did that obviously because I want them to grow together. I want them to be around for a long time. And I want Altrincham to obviously be the best and continually be the best, so I've made them quite young so they can obviously go through the divisions. Obviously with attributes like this, the big teams are going to try and obviously poach them and bring them in, so I'm obviously going to have to try and stop that from happening, because I want them to stay together, I want them to grow together, and I obviously want them to make a dynasty. But yeah, I've kind of based their attributes on what I thought they did when they were playing. Obviously the 15-year-old is not going to have attributes like that, but I've just based on what they would be like in their prime, let's say. So they've all got 20 determination. I want them to obviously improve and get better. This is Phil Neville. Doesn't really have much standout ones. He's just a good all-round player. For the purpose of this save and experiment, he is a left back. Obviously his brother's a right back, so I thought it'd be good just to get them both in the team. Other than his long throws, he's just a very, very good solid player. Let's see Gary Neville now. Again, good solid players. Obviously him and his brother were the original long throw experts, so they've got 20 long throws. In terms of player traits with Gary Neville, I used to think he used to be a great crosser of the ball. Obviously he was behind David Beckham, but whenever he got the ball, he knew how to cross it. So he can curl the ball, he gets forward whenever possible, crosses early. Tried to make that come across in his attributes. Then we have Nicky Butt, who was a tenacious defensive midfielder, as he was back when he played. Again, good solid player, 20 for determination. He marks opponents tightly. He's just a good midfielder, especially for this league. Him and Phil Neville will probably be the most standout players in this league purely for their adaptability and obviously their tenacity. We have Paul Scholes, who I mentioned previously, and he's a midfield orchestrator. As you can tell, probably my favourite player ever, Paul Scholes. some of his player traits. Shoots from distance. He had a great shot on him. Dictates tempo. Gets the crowd going. He arrives late in opponents' areas. I remember as a kid watching him, obviously, turning up in the box and scoring a crucial goal every now and again. Some more great attributes. He's got a 1 for tackling because although he's a great player, he's a terrible tackler. Yep, enough said about that. Then we have Ryan Giggs, blister and pace. That was probably one of the big defining factors of Ryan Giggs. He was rapid. Obviously in his player traits, likes to run down the ball to the left, knocks the ball past opponents to use that. All the players have good loyalty. I was debating whether to put that down for Ryan Giggs, obviously with the whole brother's wife incident. But essentially he did stay with United his whole career, so I thought, yeah, I'll give him the loyalty in terms of a footballing sense. But in terms of media and what's the word? Whether controversy, he is quite low in that. I've obviously, I've made out that he's a controversial character, so that'll be interesting to see how that affects him during this save. But that's Ryan Giggs, and then finally we have David Beckham, which is, it's probably standard what you would expect to see in his attributes. Free kick taking's high, crossing and corners are high, his technique's good. Obviously he's got the 20 determination. His player traits is curl ball. Hits free kicks with power. It's mainly that free kick and that bend it like Beckham sort of stuff, eh? But yeah, so that is they're the players, and now from here, what we'll do is we'll sim a year and we'll see how well they get on, and obviously if they play enough, if they obviously can get promoted. I do expect them to get promoted. I hope they do anyway. Otherwise, it would be a very boring experiment. But I can see them at least getting all the way to the top. So let's have a look, and I'll see you in a sec. So we're back at the end of the first season, and as you can probably tell from this opening page, Altrincham finished first in the Panorama National League North. Kind of expected that. I'm not gonna lie, I would have been shocked if they didn't. But let's have a look at the competitions and see how well they did. So they finished as champions. They finished by champions by a long distance. They got 93 points in the end. Goal difference 56, miles ahead of everyone else. Top goal scorer was a lad that I don't know and is not part of this experiment, but I'm sure he benefited from players like David Beckham and Paul Scholes and his 16 assists. They also managed to win the FA Trophy, which is a big bonus in terms of that's managed to do the double in the Panorama National League North. So fair play. They got knocked out in the second round by Aldershot. As you would expect, I can't expect them to go far in that, but essentially second round's alright. I think that's what they were projected to do anyway. But yeah, so they managed to finish off as champions and win the FA Trophy. So let's have a look more at the individual statistics, see how well the lads did. In terms of appearances, it was Gary Neville who got the most, followed by Phil and Nicky Butt. And then who is this lad? He's on loan from Blackpool. He's a striker. It's actually not bad. It's pretty good for this league. Yeah, so maybe that's Alex Ferguson pulling some connections there. But yeah, so most appearances was Gary Neville. In terms of goals, after the strikers, we have Nicky Butt with 13. I told you he might do pretty well in this league, and obviously he's had a good return in the goal situation. Got good average rating. They've all got good average ratings, to be fair to them. Next one will be Paul Scholes with 12 and David Beckham with 11. Gary Neville managed to contribute. I think he only scored like 4 goals in his whole entire United career, but he's managed to get 8 here. In terms of assists, we have Paul Scholes with 17. Joint first with David Beckham, who also got 17. And then we have Phil Neville with 15. And it does seem to be all the 6 class of 92. Nicky Butt and Gary Neville got 9 and 7 respectively. So they've had a good year in terms of average rating. Who got the most? Who was the best? David Beckham with 7.89. was the most average rating, followed by Giggs, and then obviously Phil Neville, Gary Neville, Paul Scholes, and Nicky Butt. So they were the top 6 in terms of average rating. So yeah, as you can tell, they're all wanted. They're all wanted by big teams. Gary Neville's wanted by Leicester, probably being the most standout one there. Phil Neville's wanted by Nashville and Colorado, so he's wanted by the American teams. Nicky Butt's wanted by the likes of Burnley and West Ham. Ryan Giggs is wanted by like the Blackpools and Stokes and also Colorado. So again, Paul Scholes is wanted by Paris Saint-Germain and Leicester. So word has got out to the rest of Europe that these players are about. And David Beckham's wanted by Reading and Colorado. So will we see David Beckham go back to America? Obviously not, because I'll stop that from happening. But it's David Beckham, so can't keep him away from there. So yeah, they've had a very good season. Can we have a look at the awards? What is it? Is it? Let me go to this. And if we go awards, let's see who won the awards. So player of the month, we don't want that. What's manager of the season? Obviously Sir Alex Ferguson gets manager of the season. Look at that win ratio, 66%. They're pretty well. In terms of player of the season, that was David Beckham. He did have the highest average rating out of the lads. Top goal scorer was obviously that lad that we saw. So yeah, so we've got David Beckham and we've got Alex Ferguson as manager of the year. So all in all, a good first season. It was expected. We did expect Altrincham to obviously win the league, but they did it in style, and we can obviously progress to the next year and see if they can make it back to back. So I'll see you in a sec. So we're back at the end of the 2021 season. As you can tell, Altrincham are now professional in status, which leads me to think that they may have been promoted to the league format. They do appear to have finished first in the National League. Let's just double confirm that. And they have got promoted as champions with 120 points. That is phenomenal. They ran away with the league, they have. Again, this lad, they must have got him back on loan. Top goal scorer again with 22. So obviously he's benefiting from the class of 92. He's loving it, loving life. But yeah, 120 points, they finished champions. In terms of other competitions, did they manage to win the double again? No, they came runner up. Yeah, they got beat in the final. Can we have a look at that and see? They got beat by Hartlepool 2-1. Can we go in? We can. So unfortunately, none of the team scored from the class of 92. It does look like David Beckham got player of the match, but sadly it was in a losing side. Hartlepool managed to beat them, so there's no double this year for them. But it doesn't really matter when you get promoted to the to League Two, does it? So I'm sure they're not that bothered. So let's have a look at the more individual. Let's just check on Sir Alex, see if he's enjoying still being here. Oh, he says he's happy to be at Altrincham, but would one day like to manage a bigger team, which leads me to think maybe he wants to move away, as you would expect with attributes like this. But looking at his little biography here, he managed to win the Panorama North Manager of the Season. He's also won the Panorama National League Manager of the Year, so that's back-to-back Manager of the Years for Sir Alex. His reputation's going up. But let's check on the class of 92 and see how well they're doing. In terms of appearances, it was David Beckham with 56, followed by Nicky Butt, who is on international duty with the England under-20s now. Then it was Phil Neville and Gary Neville. Scholes and Giggs only with 41, so maybe it's due to tactics. I'm not entirely sure why. It appears that Paul Scholes is actually going to join New York. Which one's this? This is New York Red Bulls. in 2023. So obviously I'll have to sort that out, but it might be better for me actually, because at least he's not going to be moving until that date. So I'll have to keep an eye on that. So I'll obviously bring him back to Altrincham once he moves over. But yeah, so in terms of appearances, David Beckham was with the most. In terms of goals, after the loan players, was Nicky Butt again with 15. I said he might have a good time in these leagues, and he's doing all right. He's got 15 goals. David Beckham was the next with 12 in terms of the class of 92. In terms of assists, we have David Beckham with 22, and we have Paul Scholes with 16, followed by Nicky Butt on 13. So doing all right in terms of that. Let's just have a quick look at who's wanting who. So David Beckham's wanted by Huddersfield. Phil Neville's wanted by Sevilla. So again, another European team interested in these players. Derby for Nicky Butt. And then in terms of that, everyone else is fine. So yeah, doing all right. It does look like they've actually won the European Under-20 Elite League. What is this? So who is actually in this? We have Nicky Butt. Let's go position. Is it just Nicky Butt that's in it? Strange. Paul Scholes is there. So we have Nicky Butt and Paul Scholes in the Under-20s. And they obviously won that Elite League, so they're starting to do stuff on an international stage as well, which is good to see. Back-to-back winners apparently. So yeah, they're doing well. So let's come back and see how well they perform in League 2, and if they can continue with another back-to-back promotion. So I will see you in just a second. Back at the end of the 2022 season now. Obviously this is their first year in the Sky Bet League 2, and looking at this, they are first once again. So that's 3 back-to-back promotions for Altrincham. Whereabouts did they finish? They finished with 94 points again, quite a few ahead of second place. So they're obviously they've not found their level yet. They're obviously doing very well. They're kind of running away with all the leagues they've been in. In terms of other competitions, did they manage to win anything alongside the league? They managed to win the leasing.com trophy. So again, another double in their first season in this competition. They managed to win it. Who scored in the final? 2 goals from Ollie Hawkins. So he is a 30-year-old striker. He's come from Portsmouth. Not part of this experiment, so no one cares. But yep, as you can tell, Ryan Giggs, Nicky Butt, David Beckham, Phil Neville, Gary Neville, they all played in this. There's no Scholes though. Wonder what happened to Scholes there. But yep, so they've obviously been promoted, and they have managed to win the leasing.com trophy. So let's have a look. Is Alex Ferguson still happy? He is. He's still doing really well. Kind of still wants to go to that bigger stage, but you know, his preference is to be manager of Altrincham, so he's still happy. He's managed to win Sky Bet League 2 Manager of the Year as well, so he's done well. He's lifted 3 league titles and won 2 cups, so that biography is getting longer and longer. He's doing all right. He's enjoying his time as manager of Altrincham. In terms of the players, let's have a look, see who stood out this season. In terms of appearances, it was Nicky Butt, then David Beckham, and then Gary Neville. In terms of goals, obviously this Ollie Hawkins, he's wanted by Blackpool. Paul Scholes scoring 11. He was the main goal scorer from the class of 92. Then Nicky Butt again, likes getting a good few goals, doesn't he? Ryan Giggs, David Beckham with 6, and Gary Neville with 4. In terms of assists, David Beckham with 16, then Nicky Butt with 14, Paul Scholes 13, Phil Neville, Ryan Giggs. So they are contributing in the assist category. In terms of average rating, highest was David Beckham, followed by Phil Neville. So they're doing very well. In terms of did he win any other trophies? David Beckham's not got no youth caps. So in terms of youth caps, is it only it's Phil Neville? Phil Neville's got no youth caps. Ryan Giggs, I did make his nationality actually Welsh, so he is born from Wales. He was born in Cardiff, but I think it's up to him who wants to choose. So potentially, England could have Ryan Giggs as their left midfielder. I know that was a bit of a hot topic back when he used to play. If only he played for England and all that. But yep, so we'll see if Ryan Giggs chooses England over Wales this time. Has Gary Neville had any youth caps? So Gary Neville's been capped at under 20 level. Nicky Butt, we know, has been capped. And obviously we know that Paul Scholes has been capped as he's already on international duty. So that's good to see in terms of who's wanted. David Beckham still wanted by Huddersfield. Phil Neville's wanted by Bristol City. Gary, Bristol City. Nicky Butt's not wanted. Obviously Paul Scholes is torn. And Ryan Giggs is not wanted. Let's have a look at the League 2 awards. See who won what. So let's go to awards. Award winners. Manager of the year, we know it was Sir Alex Ferguson. Win percentage of 63%. In terms of player of the year was David Beckham. So he's doing very well. He seems to be the brightest spark in those 6 players. Players team of the year. How many Altrincham? So we've got David Beckham, we've got Nicky Butt, we've got Ryan Giggs, we've got Gary Neville. So unfortunately Scholes and Phil Neville have missed out on that team of the year. And young player of the month, don't really need to see that. David Beckham won December, David Beckham won August. But yeah, another good year, another promotion. So we can obviously move on to League 1. Hopefully at this rate they'll be in the Premier League in no time. In terms of the actual facilities, because obviously as they get better, Altrincham should obviously improve their facilities, and I think that's a big part of this. Obviously they haven't got any fitness coaches, they haven't got any high facilities in terms of training, and we obviously want them to continue to improve, so they need to be playing and obviously training in these better places. So as you can see, they've got the poor youth facilities, poor data analysis, so hopefully fairly basic corporate facilities and average training facilities. So hopefully as they get better, we will see that these start to improve, and obviously that will then help players to obviously improve their attributes. But all's going well so far. I will see you in a second for the 2023 season, where Altrincham will be in League 1. So we're back at the end of the League 1 season. And just looking at this home page, instantly you can see that Altrincham did not finish first this year. They finished third. So they have found a level in which they don't dominate. Gary Neville is the captain now. And Jose Baxter is the vice captain. It's a bit of a strange one. Plays for Plymouth, I think, in real life now. So let's have a look and see. Luckily, they managed to win the playoffs. Sheffield Wednesday won the league this year, but Altrincham managed to get promoted via the playoffs, winning 4-1 in the final against Portsmouth. So they absolutely stomped on Portsmouth in the final. This lad managed to score an hat-trick. Right midfielder, so where's Beckham, eh? So Grant Ward. In terms of the class of 92 who played, we had Phil Neville playing. In fact, there was only one class of 92 in that playoff final, which is absolutely strange. Why is that then? Let's have a look at the statistics and see what's been going on in terms of appearances. Gary Neville managed to make 55. Not the greatest average rating this year, only 6.87. David Beckham managed to play 51 times. Phil Neville 50. So they still are getting a good amount of games. Obviously just didn't play in that playoff final for some reason. In terms of goals, David Beckham was the highest of the class of 92 with 9. Then we have Nicky Butt and Ryan Giggs 4 and 3. In terms of assists, was Nicky Butt with 11, Phil Neville with 10, and David Beckham with 10. So, they're obviously contributing in terms of assists. Average rating highest was Phil Neville. Obviously, you can't take this guy into consideration because he's only made one start this season. So it might have just been a total fluke that he started, obviously with Beckham being injured out for 2 to 3 weeks with a sports hernia. So he obviously took that spot, but he took his chance when he had it. But yep, so it was Phil and David Beckham with the highest average rating. And obviously they are contributing. Apart from Scholes and Gary Neville, didn't get over 7 in terms of average rating. That's the first time they've not got over 7. Did they manage to win a competition alongside this? Let's go to Altrincham. Go to overview and competitions. So no, they didn't win anything in terms of cups. Got to the first round and got knocked out by Wigan. Got to the third round, were knocked out by Norwich. And then in terms of leasing.com, obviously they come into that as champions. They were knocked out in the northern section. So yeah, they've obviously started to find their level now. We obviously couldn't expect them to be dominate totally all the way through, but they've managed to make it a 4th promotion in a row, which is still some achievement. So you can't knock that. Phil Neville's obviously made his under 21 debut. I wonder if anyone else has made their under 21s debut. What about David Beckham? Still no youth caps for David Beckham. Strange. Nicky Butt's under 20 level. Paul Scholes under 20 level. Gary Neville under 20 level. So it seems to be only Phil. Ryan Giggs on international duty. Who did he choose? He's chose English, I believe. I think he's going to be playing for England. So Ryan Giggs. Obviously, I don't know how it works on this game, but I know you can play youth international football, and then obviously change your nationality when you go to senior. So it'll be interesting to see if he continues to obviously play for England. But it's a good start. I think he played for England boys in real life. So hopefully he doesn't make the same decision and goes to Wales, and hopefully England can prosper from Ryan Giggs' talents. But yep. So they've obviously made the championship. And you can't knock that. You've done well. That's 4 back-to-back promotions. I think we'll leave it there for now. So this will be the end of part 1. And obviously join me for part 2, where we continue to view the progression of the Manchester United class of 92 and see if they can go all the way to the Premier League. Looking at this, they should be able to. It's whether they can obviously get there, obviously keep improving, and obviously win and dominate English football like they used to do in real life. So I will see you later. Ta-ta.